All right, last night we were at the Mac Center. Over 1,800 in attendance last night. The old place was rocking, and we had a good time. Mount Union Purple Raiders taking care of business over Marietta, 92-71. Let's bring in the head basketball coach of the Purple Raiders, Mike Fuline, for the Sam Berkwin Show on this Thursday afternoon. Coach Mike, how are we doing today?
I'm good, Sammy. I'm a lot better when shots go in. I could tell you that.
Right? Isn't that something? The shots go in, you win. I mean,
crazy.
I was sharing the story with the listeners as I was driving around the parking lot last night for an hour trying to find a parking spot because of all the snow, and I eventually made my own. And I was walking up the steps, and I said, "Dear Lord, please let Mount Union win tonight because I have to talk to Coach Fuline tomorrow at 3:35, and I don't want to do it on 3 losses in a row. Please."
I know.
Hey, it all worked out, and the Dante Collier show, we'll get into that. But boy, it was certainly good to be back home last night, wasn't it?
It was. Again, you and I have talked about it. I mean, we're a very young basketball team in the sense that none of these guys have really been through a championship run. And it's not their fault. It's just they're young. You're a young team, and a lot of first-time guys going through a lot of this adversity, especially on the road. So when shots start going in, Sam, it was just 2 days of preparation and practice, just getting back to the fundamentals of what we want to do on offense. I thought Kevin Hamilton is the unsung hero. He spent a lot of time with our assistant, Jeffrey Mansfield, just looking at some old point guards in the past and just, showing him how much he can do, especially on the pass, and when the ball goes in, a lot of that reason is because you're just getting better shots and the ball's moving. But for him to have 12 assists last night was something that we desperately needed. And now we just have to carry that over. That can't be just a one game deal. That's the only way our program works, man, especially offensively, is we have to share the basketball. And he is tremendous at doing that. Has a double-double, was 2 assists shy of the record. So hopefully we can continue doing that.
Well, you're right about, just hitting shots. Last night you guys were 14 of 33 behind the arc, 36 of 70 from the floor. That's over 51%. And when you do that, you're going to win. You barely got to the free throw line last night. You talked about all the assists with Kevin and some other guys. And I really love, there was a couple points in the game last night where we got to the first media timeout, and maybe the first 90 seconds coming out of there, things were a little wonky. And then it just kind of came together. What do you credit that to?
Defense. I think, I looked up there, they had 11 points, and, it was just, we were kind of in a daze. I think we were still a little foggy from the last 2 games and just kind of seeing what was going to happen. And, then once we settled down defensively and rebounded the basketball, I thought our bench again came in and did a tremendous job. And then once Dante started making some shots, I'll be honest with you, he had a bad turnover and a bad missed rebound. So I was subbing him out, and Eli's at the table, and he hit a 3. So I looked at Eli, and we just know Dante, and I told him, come back and sit down, man. And then he proceeded to hit quite a few more. So almost a major coaching blunder on my part. But truthfully, for us, it's when we defend. We even guarded our butts off against Northern. We just couldn't make a shot. It kept us in the game forever. And eventually you're like, all right, something's got to go here. And missing layups. And Eli was the only guy. We were 2 of 22 from 3, and Eli was the one that hit the 2-3. So during the course of a season, you're going to go through streaks like that. Being at home was a big help. But now we got to go back on the road for 2 more, right. So it doesn't get any easier.
Mike Fuline is our guest, the outstanding head basketball coach at Mount Union, joining us here on the show, 1310 WDPN. Raiders 92, Marietta 71 last night at the MAC. And Coach, over 1,800 last night. The students were there. They were into it on a cold night, man. That was great to see that place come alive. And obviously your guys fed off it like they usually do. And you talk about stacking wins, keeping the momentum. Now, you mentioned you got to go back on the road for 2 more. How do you, maybe in some kind of a different way, keep that momentum, kind of pull that with you down to Westerville on Saturday?
It starts today. Tonight we'll have a really good practice. Watch a bunch of film, and then we're going to get after it a little bit today, more so than most Thursdays.
Okay.
Just because there's so much to go over. They're such a really good team. They're in first place right now. They're the hunted. Sometimes it feels good to be, the team hunting somebody else.
Yeah.
But I watched our game this morning when we played them last, and we were flying around on defense and obviously made some shots. But that's probably one of the best games, probably the best game we've played all season. So if we can duplicate the energy and continue to make some open ones, then we give ourselves a chance. And I was honest with them. For us to have any chance of winning the league, we got to win Saturday. They're not going to drop 2 more. It's got to be us, and we're more than capable of doing it.
I was really happy for Chance last night. I know he struggled the last couple of games from the floor. He looked like he was a little foggy to start the game, and then you mentioned he got some defensive plays. He got some open court runs. He got people involved. He hit a couple of shots, and then that big Chance Case and Heiger's smile popped out. I looked at Ryan Keller and said, "We're good.
We're good
right now."
Yeah, it's funny because he came in there. We're having a good talk. I think he told one of our coaches he thought he maybe cursed, so we didn't know if we were going to church and I just laugh at him, because in those moments you just realize, man, they are they're still young kids, know what I mean, and the weight of the world is on their shoulders, and I told him, you just got to keep being who you are, and you've won us games, so you can't take it. I think he feels like he's disappointing everyone. And to be honest with you, in those games, he's allowed to play poorly. The problem is we just can't have 3 or 4 guys playing poorly. And that's what happened last Saturday. There wasn't one player that played well, not one player on our team. I didn't coach well. Not one of our coaches were on our game. So, when that happens, you're just going to lose. You're going to lose. But we're at the point in the season now that can't happen. Other guys got to pick each other up. Dante was a great example of that. I think once he started making shots, you can just feel the relief on our bench. And, because it's not like we don't make them in practice. We do. And just got to go out there and just play, and let the chips fall where they may.
I know coaches are very careful to say, okay, we got this one. It's usually when 000s are on the clock. But when I saw that 3-pointer go in off the glass at the end of the first half to give you a 49-30 lead, did you maybe think that was going to turn out to be a good night for you?
No, not for 1 second, buddy. Not for 1 second. Our halftime talk was, and this is probably what I was most proud of, and I think I told Pop after the game last night, is, we've come out with some pretty big leads in the first half, and then that first 5 or 6 minutes just kind of go through the motions.
Yeah.
And last night we didn't, right? We just kind of went right at them, made some shots, got some stops, and made 19 go to 30, and then you're just kind of, you just want the game to end, as a coach. The kids don't. They want to keep scoring and playing and things like that. I just want to get out of there, man. So, but it was good to play everyone. A lot of those guys deserve a ton of minutes. I thought, Big Sean came in and did a great job as usual. And the same as Jarek Taylor came in and got some key blocks, and runouts for us. So just a great team win and something we desperately needed.
No doubt. Of course, lots of stuff on the line Saturday, and also moving forward, big picture, small picture, quick picture. It's all kind of hanging out there for you. The trip down Saturday to take on Otterbein, you mentioned the first game that you played against this club. Has this been something like in the making for them? Was this a little bit out of nowhere? What were your overall thoughts on Otterbein's program right now?
No, very well coached. Every time we've played them, it's been a battle. Andy does it. He's one of the best young coaches. I don't even know how much young. He's been there for about 7 years now, I think. But he gets it. He knows the pieces that it takes to win a championship. And they're clicking. Sam, since we beat them in early December, they haven't lost. and they've
I
beaten
know.
everybody by double digits. So there hasn't even been any close games. So it's just going to be a battle at their place. It's going to take a complete effort. They don't beat themselves. They don't turn the ball over. They take great shots. They rebound the basketball. They'll change up their defense quite a bit as well. So we got our hands full. But, when you watch your team play, a month ago versus them, when you just sit back in this dark room and watch it, then, you're like, all right, we can do this. We've shown that we can do it. But it's going to take a full effort from everybody.
How far along you have brought this program along with your staff and the kids and everybody's involved, and then to hear you talk about, hey, we're still kind of young, we're fighting through some stuff, but on the other end of that parameter, that this is a team that can do something.
Yeah.
How do you manage all that in between things?
You just have to be brutally honest. And my friends make fun of me because I think we're going to lose every game until the game starts. I mean, that's just the Italian part of me, right?
Yeah.
But deep down, I knew we were going to be pretty good. That I think we were going to be 16-0 good. No, I mean, and we probably shouldn't have been, right? I mean, we weren't ready. We've had really good veteran teams that have lost games along the way, and I think that just kind of weighed on them a little bit. When you go on the road, it'll be the same Saturday. It's just everybody's ready for you, right? All the students. I mean, the places are packed, which I appreciate and enjoy. But these guys have to learn. Like, this is a different deal. It's a different deal when you're going on a championship run. So I think I asked them on Monday, like, if I told you after 18 games we'd be 16-2, would we all be okay with that? And we all kind of looked at each other and said, probably. All right, well, we won 16 in a row. We lost 2. Like, you can't switch that up. You can't apologize. We're not going to try to lose games to make it feel better, So it's just kind of how it laid out, right? I mean, you get to 4th in the country. Deep down in your gut, you're like, we're probably not the 4th best team in the country yet. There's always a chance for that to happen as we go.
Sure.
And then I think it just settles everybody down. Like, everybody just settle down and just try to win as many games as we possibly can. And just truthfully, we always want to win the league. That's always our first goal, and then we want to win a tournament championship. That's always the second goal. But the biggest goal in our program now is to make the tournament. We want to be able to make a tournament, get a good enough seed, or maybe we can host, or not have to match up against any big dogs early on.
Sure.
So
Yep.
they don't they don't grasp all those things. And as coaches, we understand like how every win is so important. Every win is just important. Well, we won a lot early on. We go 9-0 in the non-league. Now you just gotta keep getting better. I mean, the one thing about our program that I'm proud of, majority of the years, we do start to get better and peak at the right time. And I'm hoping that that's the case with these guys.
Well, if that's the course that it goes, then you'll have a real nice season, not only in the next few weeks, but maybe on down the road. Mount Union at Otterbein, Saturday, 1 p.m. down in Westerville. Love to see a lot of Raider fans down there Saturday. That is going to be a huge game, OAC and other ramifications moving forward. All right, Coach, it's Thursday. You ready?
I'm ready, man.
All right, question number 1. Should Bill Belichick be a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Sammy, honestly, I'm being very serious, and it's almost a little depressing. Being from Stark County, we have so much pride, in the Hall of Fame and the people that run it. And it's just, I know it's not anybody's fault over there, but it just gives it a black eye, man. It's just it's brutal to even think that that's not going to happen. I hope they change it. I mean, just for the integrity of the Hall, but. Very disappointing. Very disappointing.
I about fell off my chair when I saw that yesterday. Question number 2, Coach Fuline. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of Cleveland sports?
Wow, that's a good one. You got to put LeBron on there, right?
Okay.
He gave us our first championship. I mean, Bernie Kosar will always be my favorite. He'll be the icon. I was a teenager watching him win us a bunch of games. Kyrie Irving is one of my favorite players of all time, and my favorite Cleveland Indian ever Kenny Lofton, baby, in
Hey,
center
love.
field.
All
Yeah,
right.
that was my
Kenny
guy.
Lofton. That's a good Mount Rushmore right there.
Yeah,
That's really good. All right. Now to the depressing question. Number 3. What's worse, Coach, the cold or the snow?
oh, the cold, the cold. I mean, this has been brutal, man. And I feel bad for some of these high school teams that now have to kind of make up some games and try to figure it all out. But it's cold. I think by the time we get on the bus in the morning to go to
Oh,
Columbus, I think we saw it's like -9 degrees. So we'll be bundled up and ready to go, and hopefully everyone stays safe. And but it needs to go. Like you said, I heard you earlier. We've been blessed not to have many bad winters here. So
right.
it's been a bad one. It's been a bad one.
I got to ask you, what would the young whippersnapper Mike Fuline do with 5 consecutive days
Um,
off of school?
I don't
I mean,
listen. We'd
we
run out of things to do. We didn't have phones or anything like this. Probably play a
right.
little Nintendo, and go to a buddy's house. I have no idea. We try to probably break into the school, but back then,
Yep.
we were allowed to get in, right? We were allowed to go in and shoot around and lift and do all those types of things. But I don't ever remember. I sound like the old guy now, but I mean, back in the day, buddy, you weren't getting called off 5 days in
No,
a row,
we
man.
were lucky if we had 2 in a row off.
Yeah.
Now these kids, they expect a week off, and they want to know 24 hours beforehand.
Yes, I mean,
Not
trust me, I live with some of those kids and a wife who's a teacher, so they're glued. They're glued to the whole deal. I have a certain pregame on game days, and
Yeah.
usually that's in an empty house. But Sammy, it was not empty yesterday, so we just need that weather to break. We'll just
That's
leave it
right.
at that.
I can't wait. Coach, always appreciate your time. Congrats on a nice win last night at home. Safe travels to Westerville, and let's go down there and get a dub. What do you say?
You got it, brother. I appreciate it, man.
You got it. Mike Fuline. There he goes, the head basketball coach of the Purple Raiders of the University of Mount Union. Good times last night at the Mac Center. Hopefully we can keep it rolling.